Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Creative Heart. This week's creative art prop was inspired by the color cube. You can watch my unboxing video, it's on my channel if you want to see. It's the color cube by Sarah Renee Clark, and it's been quite an inspiration. So for this week I actually drew this little card of this beautiful aloe flower, and I really worked with my gouache elements here and paints, and I mixed these beautiful shades that's on this card, and I decided to paint it in my little gouache art journal, and there you have it. I think that turned out rather well. So if you want to see how I paint with gouache and how I created this little exercise in my art journal, then join me now as I turn the camera around and I show you exactly how. That is my intention for today. So I'm going to put my prayer flame to the side with my beautiful crystals and a beautiful hamsa for protection as we get into our beautiful art journal and we practice being present-minded with our art. Now, I would have worked in this big journal, but since the arrival of my wonderful tool by Sarah Renee Clark, I have been inspired to use this tool, and if you watched my unboxing video a few days ago, there's a whole story about how this tool came all the way from Australia to South Africa, got lost in the mail, and then I finally found it again. So if you want to watch that episode, it's on my YouTube channel. And then during that unboxing, I drew this beautiful card for today's free art lesson. So that is what we're going to work with. And then yesterday, I was playing around with my gouache in my little new gouache journal, and I thought, you know what, I think it might even be a better idea to just do this little painting in my gouache little journal. I think it's just, more appropriate as far as size and scale is concerned. But while I've got you here, let me show you what I've done previously. Now, as you know, this month is my No Mud, No Lotus, and this is one of my gouache paintings that I did in preparation for this month and just to get into the flow. This I did yesterday. Now, unfortunately, it did tear a little bit here, but you know what? These journals weren't expensive. I think I paid 148 or 84 Rand for it, so it's not a deal breaker. So I just decided to fix it with a little bit of masking tape, and then I masked this little block off, only to realize that, it will be better for me to work in this format. So I sized it again to fit this little, what do we call that? Reference material. There we go. So I'm just going to use these little clamps just to keep my paper down. Otherwise, it gets a bit exhausting holding the paper down. So that will be a lot easier. So I'm going to take this big journal out of the way now. There we go. We will play in that journal again on another day. That's the wonderful thing about paper. It's very, very patient, right? Okay, let's put our reference material there. And let me bring forth my gouache tray. Now, this is just a bit of washi tape that I used just to mask off these sections. And I've got some small brushes that I think relates very well to this 15 centimeters by 15 centimeter kind of paper. Otherwise, if the brushes are too big, then you won't be able to sort of get in those little details. All right, so I'm going to put them aside. Now, I'm not a gouache expert. I'm a self-taught artist. I like to meddle with things. So this is my way of meddling. So I just got myself a lovely tray for my gouache, and I dispensed some of the colors on there. And you can see I've worked with this before. Now, if you're new to gouache, Gouache is a lot like watercolor. It's just very opaque, so it's also water activated. So one of the first things I like to do before I get into my gouache painting is just to spray all my colors with a bit of water and just rehydrate them a little bit so that they're not so dry. Okay, so let's look at this tool and how it can help us in our art, because sometimes I think we are inspired. We can look at a picture like this and start analyzing from there and try to figure out all the colors that you see. And I think where this tool from Sarah makes it so useful is you have a basic structure here that you can pre-mix, and you'll pretty much be able to do this painting from these colors. Now, obviously, there are some colors in there like this yellow ochre in the little stems that I will bring in. She does mention that there will be colors that you can add if you want to really have a strong representation, and especially if you want to paint it, you know what I mean. The other idea is just to be inspired by the color story itself. Let me show you again what it looks like. It comes in tubes like this. You also get them in tubs. You can obviously dispense it like this and work from fresh paint, which sometimes is easier. But I like to have it in a palette because it travels well for me. So that's sort of where we get into it. Okay. And I'm just going to playfully bring the color that I'm seeing in the background working into this orange. And again, I'm not photocopying what I'm seeing. I'm just trying to represent it in my own way. And you'll see that in its watery consistency, it pretty much behaves like watercolor. There we go. I think that's a good start. We have a background that is pretty. So let's just let this flow into each other. Beautiful. Okay, I'm going to switch brushes because now we're going to get into our little flowers. Now, before I do that, I do want to just represent this stem of this flower, which is also this pistachio green, so that when we work with the little stems of the individual buds, there's a lot of yellow ochre in there. So let's find some green spaces around the Okay, I need to mix a little bit more of this. What was this color called? Terracotta. Yes, terracotta. So adding a bit of grey to it. There we go. This mixture is a little bit cooler than my first one. You can see. That's okay. I think it's okay. Now, in my reference, I see a beautiful pink there in the background. pink with a little bit of coral. So I'm just adding a bit of the vermilion to it. Oh, let's just work that in. Oh, it's still about there. Now I'm seeing this yellow ochreish color here, but there's a lot of green to it, so let's mix some green into it. Let's use our pistachio. I've given it 5 minutes to dry, so now I can assess what I have as a foundation and build upon it. So to define this a bit better, I think we need better or more depth, more contrast. So that is what I'm going to work on now, and also a bit more vibrancy. So I think the beautiful vibrant reds that we have here can now come forward, albeit not everywhere. So I think I'm reading the brightest bit in hue that I want to bring in now. So let's get a nice mixture of our vermilion in its pure color. And I think what will help is, I think I'm going to do another wash on the background to sort of just make that a little bit less vibrant because it's definitely darker in the background. The actual flowers are brighter. And then I'm going to work on softer tints or highlights of these colors to really help develop the form and shape of these petals. And I'm going to leave these very dark low lights for last because I don't want to disturb those lines again. So that's sort of going to be my strategy going forward. But I'm going to fast forward it for you so that you can see how we get there. Awesome, I think I'm done. Listen, I always remind people that you are not a printer, and even though I'm using this as a reference material, I'm not trying to copy the image to the point where it feels like I have replicated a print of the original. I just want to capture the light and the mood, and I feel that I have achieved exactly that with this little painting. So now, this is the exciting part. We can take off the washi tape. I must say, I prefer washi tape to masking tape because it's less sticky. There is less chance of tearing your paper, but I always recommend that you heat up your tape before removing it. There you go. And there's something very satisfying about removing tape that you use to protect your borders, because now you also have this beautiful clean edge that helps to define or confine your exercise and your painting. And I actually think we did very well considering this is our mixing tones. I think we nailed it quite well. And when we bring this into our painting, we can definitely see all of these shades playing a role. And I'm quite happy with that. Even the grays are in there. So that helps to really lift the vibrancy. So I took a bit of artistic license because I'm seeing a little bit of blues and pinks that I felt was going to complement my little painting. So what remains is the date. And I think today is the 6th of May. So let's add a 0605. 24. Sometimes I have to count the months because I'm not always sure exactly where I am. So this yellow type is going to stay because it's actually there to keep my little journal strong. But that's my exercise for the day. I promised you guys card number 113, this beautiful aloe flowers, and we worked with this wonderful color scheme that is provided here by Sarah. Do check out her website, beautiful color cubes, and this is just such an amazing tool to use in your art. I really feel that I've learned something and I've achieved something today. So I really like where we are in our painting. So if you're new to my channel, remember to hit that subscribe button and the like button. And I do these little free art classes every Monday for your perusal so that you can have something to focus on or maybe gain some inspiration or insight into a medium that will inspire you to have a creative practice too. So I will see you guys again next week for another episode of The Creative Heart. Bye-bye for now. And there we have it. Our beautiful little painting in our art journal inspired by Sarah Renee Clark.